Okay guys, so today's lesson is actually on using imbalances to find entries, because we've gone over, using imbalances in the previous video, but today we're going to go over how to actually enter off of these areas and what I've personally learned through trading and actually watching imbalances fill in different ways and how we can benefit from actually gaining pretty much sniper entries off of these sort of levels. This is going to be in combination with a Fibonacci retracement. You don't have to use this. You can use maybe order blocks, which we'll go over later. But these Fibonaccis you can use in conjunction with the imbalance to get some proper entries. And based on the different Fibonacci levels, which I'm going to tell you, you can actually catch either swing moves from one level, intraday from another level, and we're going to go over this in the next few sections of the course. So I'm going to give a little example on Euro USD. So you see here we have a lot of imbalance. So we obviously have one here, we have a mini one here, see this level, and what you're basically going to want to do, okay, so if we actually use the replay tool now, so we're looking for entries. So we're in this bullish trend up here, so we bottomed out here, and now we are obviously breaking out of this area of consolidation. What was it doing in this area? It was building up orders. So if we actually draw this like this, this is what I usually like to do. I draw out the trading range, so you can see where price is pretty much trading between, and we can look for manipulations of the lows before moving to the upside, or even manipulation of the lows coming back into the zone like this, filling an imbalance and then dropping. But as you see, we didn't get that here. We just had a clean break to the upside with this imbalance which was formed. Here, what some people can do, or some people like to do, is if you hold control, you can lock it on. Some people draw it from candle to like the top of the body to the bottom of the body, but I like to do it with the wicks as well. So we draw that across. So this is our imbalance area now. So this is where we could see price, go lower, come down 50% and go back up again. Or even we could see it fill the whole thing, then go up again. Or again, price could just fall straight through it. But these areas do actually have to be filled. It's like an order block that has to be mitigated. People call these fair value gaps inefficiency. There's loads of different names to them, so you might have been taught them differently before, or you might have not been taught them at all. So if we play price on here, what we're actually going to do is, I said we're going to use Fibonacci's. This is where I'm going to go over it. So we have our fib here. These are the levels I personally use. We have the 78.6. We have the 1, 0.61, 0.5, 0.382. If you don't have the levels, here they are. They're just the ones that are selected. And also I have it on values instead of percentages, and right middle. So there we go. You could just pause that and copy my levels down. Okay, so what we're going to do from here when we're looking for an entry, so we have this imbalance. So what we can do is put the bottom of the Fibonacci tool to the bottom of this big candle, drag it up to the top, but we're not going to put it here, we're going to drag it right away across, and we're looking for price to tap into this level. So the level I look for mostly is this sort of level. You can include the 0.5 or the 50%, but I personally look for this level here. So if we actually just change the color of this a bit, so we can see it, there we go. So this is the sort of, people call it the golden zone. This is where we're looking for price to come into before looking for buy positions. So we play that up along, boom. Look what happened here. So the confluences you'd have for this are perfect. So we've got the imbalance, we've had the break of this consolidation area, price was accumulating, and then boom, broke out again. You could say this here was another sort of trading range in this area, and then we had manipulation to the downside. We tapped into, you could say we filled around 60-75% of this imbalance area, or this fair value gap, and also we tapped perfectly and rejected the golden zone. And I use these fibs on the 15 minutes because I found that's where you can get the best entries, and by using tight stops as well. So let's say on the first close here, you waited for another wick down, and when price was pulling up, that's when you entered. I'd say stops, you could put them just below the 78.6, this sort of area. Or, just to be safe, what I like to do is put them below the imbalance area. Because you see we've got all this imbalance still here, which could be filled. Also imbalance down here, sort of. But yeah, we're just going to be safe by putting it below here. And you know, where are we going to target? Your first target can be the previous highs. If we look back, we've got imbalance up here also, which we could target. But if we just mark out here where our first target would be, there we go. So you see instantly we've tapped into the area. You could have put maybe a buy limit, something like that, to catch this, because this was in London session. So if we play it on now, let's see what happens. So price comes back down, comes back up, hits the first target. You see here you could have got another entry, because what we came to do, we came back, and also we had a double bottom here. And what does price have to do when there's a double bottom? That means there is money below these levels. So there's money, there's orders, people are buying here, their stop losses are below. So what do the banks do? They come down, stop them out with these wicks, and then move price back in the original direction. So if we remove that now, and we look, see your first target was hit. Let's see if price comes up to the second target. Doesn't do so, and there's a reason for this. So you see, this imbalance was pretty much, if we draw the top of this imbalance across, pretty much all the way filled. So a lot of times price will only fill, like what happened down here, 60 to 75% of the imbalance. There's no point waiting for the whole imbalance to fill before looking for an entry, because that sometimes might not even happen. So what I usually wait for is either 60%, 50%. I know a lot of people use 50%, especially with like order blocks and stuff as well, which we can go over in a minute. But yeah, this is a perfect area. So say you had it at 50% of this imbalance area where price hasn't visited, 50% tapped into, reversed. You could have even used this as another entry, this sort of 50% imbalance tapped and then dropped. But we're going to count this here because that's where I said the original take profit was. You know, you've got a nice 1 to 2.3. Let's say you had tighter stops below the 78. You've got a 1 to 3.9. So just by adjusting your stop loss, your take profit areas, by back testing, and say you take a lot of trades using this strategy, but you're back testing or forward testing, if you get stopped out when you're doing the stop loss just below the 78%, but then you start trying with maybe a wider stop loss, and the wider stop loss is working, start using that instead. And you've got to realize, maybe I was getting stopped out because my stop loss was in the middle of the imbalance. And like here, we didn't get stopped out because price was below the imbalance. We wouldn't even have been stopped out by this move here. I mean, you see it went back into profit again. Although we would have been stopped out there, our target was already hit, so that is irrelevant. So this is personally how I use the imbalances for getting entries, using the Fibonacci. I know a lot of people would just draw a Fibonacci like this. If we remove all this, they would just draw a Fibonacci like this, from the wicks down here up to this move here. It would have tapped into the 38. What we had is a tap into our golden zone down here, which gave us a perfect entry in conjunction with the imbalance fill around 50-60%. So that was how I personally use them for my entries. Obviously there are other ways of using imbalances which we will go over, but this is how I use them with Fibonacci levels and get my entries and where I target. I say it's good to target the next high or the next low because that's where price has got to take out first before it even creates a new high. There's no point targeting a high from a few weeks ago when first it's got to take out the most recent high. So that's personally how I would trade.